Good evening. I'd like to call to order the July 17th Board of Education meeting. At this time, Ms. Sandy Ayers will lead us in the invocation.
As we meet during the summer season, we thank you for the chance to recharge, and we give special thanks for the teachers, staff, and administrators who continue to work behind the scenes. Bless their dedication and guide our decisions tonight with wisdom, clarity, and purpose for the year ahead.
At this time, Ms. Currituck will lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have a motion to approve the agenda? A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Now we're going to move to public comment. The public comment session is a time when an individual or a group can address the board about our schools. This is not a time to speak about issues or concerns involving identifiable personnel or students. Matters of this nature should be submitted in writing to the superintendent, and your concerns will be addressed. Individuals or groups will be called in the order in which they signed up and will be asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. First, Ms. Karen Etheridge.
Good evening. My name is Karen Etheridge, and I reside at 109 River Lane Road in Jarvisburg. Tonight, our board is voting on whether or not to allow homeschool students to participate in sports at Currituck County High School, and I have several concerns regarding this decision. What does accountability for attendance and achievement look like? Do we have the manpower to keep up with the checks and balances of making sure homeschooled student athletes are and remain eligible? It's my understanding that students would be asked to take 2 classes at Currituck County High School so that we can collect their average daily membership money. Are we trying to make allowing homeschooled students to play sports profitable? Say 20 homeschooled students participate in athletics. That's roughly $18,000 to $20,000 in ADM funds. That won't even cover the pay for a teacher assistant, and if allowed to take online classes, after the district pays for those and possibly books, I can't imagine there being a huge profit margin that's worth the extra strain on our already spread thin resources, such as coaches and the athletic director at CCHS. Do these classes have to be face-to-face, or can they be virtual? Do they have to be core classes, or can homeschooled students just take electives? What if a student enrolls in the fall but doesn't make the team, then withdraws? If they withdraw from an EOC course after the 20-day mark, then doesn't CCHS take a hit for that on our test scores? Will the student be allowed to re-enroll for the spring season? Have we thought about the families that would possibly withdraw their child from CCHS in order to homeschool now that they can play sports and be on a modified schedule with only having to take 1 or 2 classes face-to-face? Now that students only need 22 credits to graduate, 3 per semester to play, this should be a definite concern. If homeschooled students are required to take 2 classes at CCHS, does that entitle them to a diploma? Will they compete for class rank? If they want to join a club or listed on the college applications, will they be permitted to do that? Can they join the band? I bet you all would agree that our elected officials at the state level and beyond are currently failing our schools. One of the biggest assaults on public education right now is the voucher program, which is pulling hundreds of millions from our public schools' education budget. But here we are, ready to allow homeschooled students to participate in one of the most valued parts of public education, athletics. My daughter made a public post on Facebook last week that was shared across the platform 29 times with close to 200 public comments. Some members of our community were against allowing homeschooled students to participate in sports, but many were in agreement for the sole reason that they pay taxes. I disagree with this claim and believe that you forego the opportunity to participate in sports when you make the decision to homeschool your child. I believe families should be free to choose homeschooling if they feel it's best for their child. However, if our public schools are not meeting the needs of a student or family, then our extracurricular activities, including athletics, should also reflect that standard. Thank you for your time.
Etheridge. Diane Davenport.
Good evening. My name is Diane Davenport. I reside at 159 Charleston Drive in Grandy. I have been an athlete at CCHS. I have been a coach at CCHS, a teacher at CCHS, as well as a teacher at JP Knapp Early College. I love and I'm invested in Currituck County Schools, and I believe in always doing what is best for students. Tonight, I ask for the equitable treatment of all students in Currituck County Schools. Why would we allow homeschool students to participate in sports at the high school when we have students currently enrolled in our schools at JP Knapp unable to do so? What message does it send to those kids at Knapp that wished for the opportunity but chose what they felt like was best for their future instead? Knapp students should be allowed to participate even if you do not agree with homeschool students being eligible, but definitely if you permit homeschool students for this school year. Surrounding early colleges allow students to play sports at their local high school, and the only one is on the same campus as their traditional high school. Students should not have to choose between being a part of a team, doing something they love, and bettering their future. The board was so willing to make a motion to adopt a policy at the last meeting, even though the current board was not aware of any of the work the previous homeschool committee was tasked to look into. When I reached out to a few of these committee members that wished to remain anonymous, the consensus was that the committee had only met one time over the past several years. If that's the case, it seems to me that the board should be able to adopt the same policy for JP Knapp without the need to review the implications. I want to thank Ms. Parker and Ms. Harrison for reaching out to me this week to discuss their concerns and encouraging me and my family to speak tonight. You both had great questions and concerns around allowing JP Knapp to participate in sports this year, and I hope that we will be able to address some of your major concerns tonight. Number one, the transportation of student athletes from Knapp to CCHS for practice is the easiest obstacle to tackle. Knapp already has a bus that drops off band and color guard students each and every afternoon. JP Knapp gets out earlier than the high school, so tardiness should also be minimal. Number two, the student population at JP Knapp was not included in the numbers at the high school back in 2008 when it opened for a few reasons. The first being adding Knapp's numbers to the high school would put CCHS in a higher athletic conference. Another reason was due to the rigor of the early college and the fear of those students not being able to juggle both dual enrollment and athletics. In 2008, Knapp was only the second early college high school in the state. Since then, almost every district is trying to open one if they haven't already. All of our surrounding districts now have an early college. Dual enrollment is not as foreign and as mind-blowing as it used to be. Knapp's administration and staff now have a better understanding of what the associate's degree, certification options, and college credit process entails than they had in 2008. They have mastered what supports are needed for these students in order to be successful, and this is evident in their yearly school grading rating. It makes sense that the original decision made 17 years ago would be re-examined, and I'm surprised that it hasn't happened before now. Just because something has always been done a certain way does not mean it's necessarily the best way or the right way to do things. Thank you for consideration, and I hope you will put students first.
Thank you. Bo Davenport.
Good evening, board members and administration. My name is Bo Davenport, and I reside at 159 Charleston Drive. I'm here tonight to advocate for my students at Knapp as their PE and fitness instructor, but also as a parent of a rising ninth grader. As a founding member of the early college, I have seen, heard, and participated in various forms of this very conversation many times. Can Knapp students participate in sports? In the past, that's been a resounding no. But present discussion of allowing homeschool students to participate in athletics has changed the dynamic of this conversation. Precedent has been set that if it was available to home students, things like marching band, color guard, theater, it was also available to JP Knapp students as well. I know many concerns on this matter, and I'd like to address a few of those. Number one, classification. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association just completed their latest realignment process, and CCHS was classified as a 5A school with an ADM of 1,054 students. If we apply NAP's 283, that will rise CCHS at the next realignment to a 6A. What does that mean? Well, I spoke with Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Drybalis, Assistant Commissioner Alfie Wheeler for Sports and Championships, and Director of Sports and Championships Austin Fleming, that if NAP students were included, CCHS would not have to leave their current conference. They would not be placed into a conference with Greenville or Rocky Mount schools by the reclassification to 6A, and that would not happen until the 2029 realignment. Also, according to Assistant Commissioner Wheeler, he does not believe the state would ever force CCHS out of their current geographical playing area. Precedent has been set for this by Martin County because they just folded two schools together after the realignment process. Using a strictly RPI format for seeding and future playoffs takes away the automatic bids in a split conference. Also, the NCHSAA has no problem, according to Commissioner Wheeler, Assistant Commissioner Wheeler, and they went and talked to Commissioner Tucker with a 3A, 4A, 6A conference. So even if nobody else moved up and we did, they would be okay. I cannot overemphasize the impact that team sports and competition have on the development of the whole child. Athletics is somewhere where you can learn from failure with zero real-world consequences. You lose a game, you learn intensity, you learn focus, you learn resilience. If I mess up in a business and my family suffers, in athletics, we don't have that. I feel that with the demographic of students that NAP serves, were chartered to serve, the state legislative protection of the associate degrees through an early college versus traditional high school, and the separate funding sources for the early colleges, that our students could participate in sports, and we would not have to be concerned with overlapping the two buildings. We do not offer the same services and supports. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for your participation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Tiffany Huffman?
Good evening, Dr. Lutz, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Education, and everyone here tonight. My name is Tiffany Huffman, and I reside at 204 South Currituck Road here in Currituck. I'm speaking tonight as a parent who lives in this county, not directly from my position here at JP-NAP. I want to be very clear, I'm not here to criticize any of the other schools in our district. We have outstanding teachers and administrators throughout the county. My one son attends Currituck County High School, and the other son receives services here at Central. So obviously I have the utmost respect for all of our schools. It's why I applied for my position. I want to acknowledge Mr. Edwards specifically, as he has done an excellent job this last year and has many great ideas for how to continue improving the county high school. I firmly believe that he's leading the school in the right direction, and I am proud that my son will graduate as a Knight and not as a Spartan at the end of this year. I'm not an expert on whether playing sports helps or hurts academics. I've read articles citing both. What I do know is, as a parent, sports provide discipline, executive functioning, and team building skills that I would want my own children to have. My concern is timing. Fall sports have already started conditioning. School schedules are set or are being set. Students applying and accepting to JP-NAP, that happened months ago. For the most part, enrollment is set in our schools. JP-NAP is a credit-bearing program that helps students earn college credentials while finishing high school. We carefully plan pathways and support, and College of the Albemarle has separate attendance and academic policies for these students that we take into consideration, and adding sports will require additional planning and support. JP-NAP has a long tradition of supporting student success with first-generation, economically disadvantaged, and underdeserved students through built-in support services. We are starting our 17th academic year, the longest in the state, and as such, we are considered a model school in many ways, but not for sports. Students have to choose between continuing with sports or attending JP-NAP, which deters some, like my son, from even applying. He wasn't ready to give it up yet, even though he didn't make any of the teams at the high school. As a parent, and also as a professional, I respect everyone's right and opportunity to choose how they receive their education, and with that, sports opportunity. I'm asking the board to be mindful that when you are making this decision, and this decision tonight, while it is based currently on homeschool students, can and will and should have implications for students at our early college. These implications that require planning across disciplines, expertise, and all of our schools. I'm asking the board for transparency in this process. If athletic opportunities are added for homeschool students, careful, personalized planning is needed for each student and at each school for them to be successful, as well as an open mind on remembering that while early college students are unique, they still deserve opportunities, including sports. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Davenport.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Davenport, and I reside at 159 Charleston Drive in Grandy. I'm a rising ninth grader to JP Knapp Early College. I stand before you to fight for the opportunity for myself and my peers to participate in sports at Currituck High School while attending JP Knapp. Offering this option not only promotes a healthy lifestyle, but provides students with the skills of teamwork, communication, and leadership. In addition to what Knapp has to offer, playing sports at Currituck will give us experiences that are essential for personal growth and future success. If allowed to play sports, it would help piece together community connections, encouraging collaboration and support amongst both high schools. By not allowing Knapp students the chance to compete, deprives us of important lessons in perseverance, discipline, and unity. It should be our choice whether or not we can juggle the rigorous coursework of being dual enrolled along with playing sports. Not only did sports help get me through the school day and foster many of my friendships, but I believe they were what motivated and pushed many athletes to be their best selves while in the classroom. Athletic practices and events were the highlight of my day, and I had always looked forward to the challenge of personal improvement and growth. Last year, I made both the cheer squad and the track team, where I was appointed a captain. By being part of these teams, I built my confidence and found a home, a family. I believe playing sports is a part of who I am. Accepting Knapp's invitation to attend their school was the hardest decision I had ever made. Ultimately, I chose to go to Knapp because I believe I would be surrounded by like-minded classmates who valued their education and wanted to be successful just like me. My dream is to attend the School of Math and Science in Durham, and to maximize my learning and be prepared for this challenge, I needed to escape disruptive students and classroom environments. Sports had always been an outlet for me to relieve the stresses of everyday life, as it was for many others. They don't have to end just because we are choosing to attend Knapp. In conclusion, I urge you to consider the positive impact of allowing Knapp students to play sports at Currituck. Advocate tonight for a decision that prioritizes all of Currituck County students' happiness and well-being by allowing us to play this school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. And lastly, Mr. Dennis Self.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Dennis Self. I reside at 326 Summit Farms Trail in Moyock. I also own a business in Moyock, a driving school that I teach the driver's ed program. I had one daughter that graduated from Currituck High School, and I had another daughter that graduated from JP Knapp. I have a third daughter who we have chosen to homeschool for various reasons. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to respectfully advocate for a policy change that would allow homeschool students to participate in public school sports. Across our state and in many others, public school activities are a vital part of community life. They teach discipline, teamwork, leadership, and resilience. These are lessons that go far beyond the classroom. Homeschool families like ours are not opting out of education, we're simply choosing a different educational path. But we still live in the same neighborhoods, pay the same taxes, and care just as deeply about our children's development as you do. Right now, homeschool students are often shut out of these opportunities, not because of lack of talent or commitment, but because of outdated policy. This exclusion does not serve the best interest of students or the schools themselves. In fact, many states already allow homeschoolers to join public school teams. States like Florida, Utah, Texas, and even North Carolina have policies in place, and they've seen how these students can enrich the teams and the community themselves. Allowing homeschoolers to play sports doesn't just benefit those students, it strengthens the teams. It increases competition, raises the level of play, and fosters a more inclusive spirit in our school systems. Homeschool families are willing to follow the same eligibility rules as everyone else, from academic standards to physical exams. We're not asking for any special treatment, only a fair opportunity. In a time when we should be building bridges in education, not walls, this is a simple and meaningful step toward greater cooperation between homeschool families and public schools. Let's make our schools not just centers of learning, but centers of community, open to all who want to contribute and grow. Thank you for your time and consideration. I also would like to speak on my daughter's behalf, who can't be here tonight because she's on a church mission trip with Fellowship Christian or Baptist Church in Moyock. This is the letter that she wrote. Hi, my name is Naomi Self. I'm 15 years old. I'm a homeschool student, and I'm here today because I want the opportunity to play sports for my local school team. I've always loved sports, not just for the competition, but for what they teach: teamwork, discipline, leadership, and how to win, lose with respect. Just because I'm homeschooled doesn't mean I don't want to grow in those ways too. Being homeschooled doesn't separate me from the community. It's just a different way of learning. I still live here. I'm still a part of this town. I see the same kids at the grocery store, the park, or youth group. I just do my schoolwork at my kitchen table instead of a classroom, but I care just as much about representing my community with pride as anyone else. I believe I should have the same chance to be part of a team, wear the school colors, and work hard for something bigger than myself. I'm willing to show up to practice early, stay late, and follow all the same rules as everyone else. I'm not asking for special treatment, just a fair shot. Sports have the power to bring people together no matter where or how they learn. I want to be part of something that builds friendships, teaches life lessons, and challenges me to grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll consider giving students like me the chance to play, to compete, and to contribute. I may be homeschooled, but I'm still part of this team, this town, and this future. Thank you.
Thank you. Just thank you to everyone who took the time to participate in public comment tonight. This board is committed to listening to citizens. None of our decisions are ever easy. And typically when we put something out there, it's typically a 50-50 split. And then we have to make those decisions. But we're always excited when the community comes. Special thanks to Alyssa as a student doing that. That shows a lot, and we appreciate your willingness to speak for what you believe in. So thank you very much. At this time, Dr. Matt Lutz and Ms. Dowdy will do a presentation on school start and dismissal time.
Okay. We have been discussing the need to adjust our school start times to address the growth in our schools, along with our shortage of bus drivers, and most importantly, getting our students to and from school on time. And to that end, we need to adjust our school start times. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Dowdy.
All right, so I think it was 2 meetings ago. It feels like the summer's flying by, and I'm like losing track of days, and August is coming awfully quickly. But we did have ITRE from NC State come in and do a presentation before the board. If you recall, and if the public recalls, we glaringly admitted we had some issues within transportation and sought some feedback from the experts to try to go through our data, look for areas that we could improve upon. And in that meeting that ITRE presented to us, we found some things like some of our densely populated neighborhoods had upwards of, I believe, 120 stops when we saw it, very close together in densely populated areas. That drew the need for us to consider community stops moving forward. And also in that presentation, we heard from ITRE that our staggered start times, our Tier 1 versus Tier 2s of our AM and PM runs, that we really needed about 70 minutes between that drop-off time at the elementaries and then the drop-off time at the high schools, or secondary schools rather. And so we had that presentation. We proposed some times. The board said, hey, let's do a community feedback survey. So I'm going to present to you a little bit about what that survey feedback looked like. So if you have on your screens, I believe Ms. Deb's got it going. First of all, we'll look at respondents. We did have 1,059 responses to the survey from our community. Most of those folks identified as parents or guardians. That's roughly 80% of who responded, and our staff members came in a close second. School representation. So again, we asked respondents to kind of identify if they had students at a particular school or multiple schools. I will say it was nice to see the high school had a little bit more representation. Typically, we don't have a lot of secondary parents because they feel like their kids have got it all under control, don't always respond. So it was nice to see that we had a larger number of respondents from our secondary schools participate. And then, of course, we asked, based on the feedback, which of the different options did you prefer? So I'm going to go through those again for the public so they can see those again. But based on the feedback, it was overwhelming that option C was the one that most of our folks preferred. Option C was the one that most closely mirrors our current start times. And option A, which came in second, was the earliest actual start times. So again, just for the community so they can kind of refresh. Option C, I'll skip through real quick. Option C was the one that was selected. That changes our start and end times nominally from what they were this past year. And option A, the second choice, was the ones that started much earlier, as I say, 20 minutes earlier than what they were this current year for our K-5 schools. So again, going back to the stakeholder feedback, it was that option C was the one that was selected from our stakeholders. At this point, obviously, ITRE is hounding us. They are the ones that control TIMS. TIMS is the actual system that we input all of our student riders and addresses into, and then it helps to generate our routes. They are anxiously awaiting actual times for us so that they can go in and plug in to get actual routes. That way, timing really becomes a little bit more reliable. We do have our transportation survey out currently for families, so again, another shameless plug. Everybody should start to receive postcards in the mail from us, one per household, asking them to, if they are going to rely on school transportation for the 25-26 school year, to please go ahead and sign up for transportation so that we have the most accurate information. One of the other glaring issues that we found was we had ridership counts that were not accurate. We had folks that had signed up and never rode the bus and were never taken off of routes, or folks that were added and weren't formally put into the TIM system. It just became the drivers were familiar with them. They knew to stop at the house, but they weren't officially on record. So we really need families to sign up for transportation for the 25-6 school year so we have accurate data to put into TIMS. Obviously, a system's only as good as the input of information that's in there. And then once we have start times, we can give that to ITRE and our transportation department to start to build routes.
Also excited to let everyone know that our transportation department is out checking the routes now, looking at community stops, making sure that they're viable, even if it appears that ITRE says that we're double checking. And they're doing a great job of finding, hey, the bus can't turn around here, or this isn't plausible to have a community stop. So very excited. Mr. Cook could not be here tonight. He had a family emergency, or we would have had him come up as well. So.
Do we have about 4,500 students? Where are we?
About 4,700.
So about 20% of parents responded, right? 862, I'm doing my math. Yep, about 20%.
Well, there are 4,500 students, about 1,000 of those responded. Okay. So a little over 20%, but not much.
And I would say that the high school probably got the representation this time because poor Mr. Edwards and his staff suffered the entire school year, and the parents suffered with children being late every single day and being picked up as late as 5 o'clock. So I think that's probably why we got the high school response, because those parents were extremely frustrated with the system. So I don't think you need any action from us.
We don't.
Okay. Y'all will move forward as you see put, and then we'll see how that goes.
Yes, we will see how that goes. Okay. We are not satisfied with how it's been going.
Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, we have a presentation by Dr. Matt Lutz and Principal Grady Edwards concerning attendance guidelines for Currituck County High School.
The original charge, we're going to look at a broader attendance policy tonight. However, one of the things that occurred shortly after our board meeting on June 30th was that the state removed the option of FF, which would a student could fail for non-attendance. If they were passing the course, they would still fail. The state board took that option away, and to that end, Mr. Edwards is going to walk you through a guideline proposal that I think is pretty robust and very thought out. So Take it away, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and the rest of the Currituck County School Board, thank you for the opportunity to present Currituck County High School's proposal for the attendance guidelines for the 25-26 school year. Why prioritize attendance and why now? Other than the links to higher academic achievement and social emotional development, we believe this guideline encourages responsibility, accountability, and alignment between academic and extracurricular commitments. These proposed guidelines align with the attendance requirements from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, which states students must attend at least 85% of the total instructional days in the previous semester to be eligible for athletic participation. Our proposal for attendance guidelines mirrors these expectations for all students participating in extracurricular activities or who plan to benefit from certain privileges at Currituck County High School. All CCH students must maintain at least 85% daily attendance in each semester to remain eligible for participation in any extracurricular school event or activity. If students are absent for 50% of a given class period, that is factored into their overall absent percentage, which is easily accessible through Infinite Campus, and our front office staff is already tracking student entry times and coding attendance appropriately. We take attendance every block, but Infinite Campus converts that into daily attendance. This is a breakdown of how it would look with an uneven semester like we have this coming year. I recommend using a percentage, so this can be used year to year, regardless of the number of days per semester. This year, to keep it easy and consistent, I recommend we pick the same number of days per semester for the 25-26 school year. Maybe unlucky 13 is the mark of ineligibility, but I'm open to suggestions. This outlines the appeal process. Students may submit an appeal if absences were due to extenuating circumstances and the student has demonstrated effort to make up the missed work and re-engage academically. Appeals will be reviewed by a committee made up of an administrator, a school counselor, and the activity sponsor or coordinator. I want to ensure the school board and certainly our community that this attendance policy is not intended to harm or penalize students. Its purpose is to support consistent learning and student success. We understand that life brings unforeseen challenges, and compassion and common sense will be part of our approach. This outlines the reinstatement criteria. If a student appeals and is granted approval, eligibility is reinstated effective at that approval date. Students who do not appeal or who are not granted approval of their appeal remain ineligible for the subsequent semester. This outlines our work to communicate with parents. At the fifth absence, we will send an email and letter notifying parents of these absences. At the 10th absence, the student's respective school counselor will call, inform parents of the number of absences, and request a parent meeting if necessary to provide intervention. To my knowledge, this is something we did prior to this year. We had Infinite Campus this year, so I think learning that was the reason why those letters didn't go out. But in the past, letters went out at the 5th day and the 10th day, to my knowledge. Before we get to any questions, with the attendance currently being looked at, with the attendance currently being linked to exam exemptions, I'm also asking the board to consider amending policy 3410, specifically referring to exam exemptions for district and teacher-made tests. This slide outlines proposed exam exemption options. My recommendation is to consider option 1, all students take the final exam. I think taking a final exam is an important part of the course process. The final exam is a culmination of skills and learning concepts, and our students should be able to demonstrate appropriate skill mastery on these assessments. Additionally, final exams give us valuable data as we assess our teaching effectiveness and course rigor. I also believe taking the final exam is great preparation for academic life after high school. We talk to a lot of our students either in college, and a lot of them say that the option to not to take a final or be exempt from a final, that's pretty rare. I think about my personal experience, I probably took 50, 60 final exams in college. I think less than 10 of those I had the opportunity to be exempt from. So I think it prepares them for what they do beyond us. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'm sorry, did you say the current policy is that they're exempt from exams if they have an A?
Yes, they're exempt with unlimited excused absences.
Okay.
They're exempt with a B, it's 2 excused absences. So students with an A or an B are currently exempt from taking final exams.
And you're looking
For
to,
district and teacher-made tests.
okay, and you're looking to change that to have them take the exam?
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Sandy?
Not necessarily questions, just comments. I love your attendance policy personally. I'm big on accountability, and it prepares them for the real world. Also on the exam exemptions, again, my kid went to NAP college. She doesn't get exempt from exams, so they go in better prepared. It also helps whether they go into the job force or the military.
Thank you.
Melissa?
I like the policy as well. I'm on the fence about the A part just because I know it was one of the only things that would get me into school sometimes is that I would maybe not have to take one of the exams. But I also know that the data from exams is critical. It really does help, whether it's a core class or an extracurricular, to know that students are learning. And I am a data fan. I love data. So I can definitely see the benefit to that.
Mr. Banks?
It's the same thing as Melissa just said. It's all about accountability, what it comes down to. And I do like the idea that everybody takes the final exam. Because you could have a D student take a final exam and he ace it.
Sure.
And pull himself back up. And so that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Dr. Lutz, since this would be a change to policy 3410 and we would be removing exam exemption, we would need to do an action item to vote on that, correct?
We could. I can also bring that forth in August, or we could amend. And the reason why I'm trying August is there's a second. We're going to bring multiple policies forth for the second reading. The second part of that is we have a cell phone. I'm going to bring in some guidelines for a cell phone policy forth as well. And that way I'm thinking about how Mr. Edwards gets to communicate to his families.
Okay.
That we're going to be changing the exam policy and the cell phone policy. And it gives us time to also get into that language and strike the appropriate language, which we don't have right in front of us now. And it gives our kids lead time. We start, that next board meeting is a week before school starts. So there's plenty of time to inform.
Okay, I don't have any problem with waiting on that. Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for the work.
Thank you.
This is going to make a difference for children. We
Thank you.
cannot continue to talk about wanting to raise standards and then allow people to stay home. Because the truth is, kids have access now through Google Classroom. You can stay home and you can ace a class. Whether we like to believe that, a smart kid can do that. And we are not training them to enroll, enlist, or employ. You don't get to sit out of the military. You don't get to not show up for work. And the idea that because I had an A, I don't have to take the exam. What happens is students who are straight A's go to college and they've never taken a final exam. I would also argue it's probably why our data is incorrect on our district assessments, because we have nobody with a B or an A taking it. So we're not gauging if that district assessment is even accurate or valid. So do you want to chime in, Miss Amelia, our great student over here?
I think if you ask the students, I think they would say no, personally. I know for me, I didn't want to take the exam, so I did focus more on my attendance policy. I also focused on it when it came to athletics, though, so that was part of it. But I will say I do know people who focus on keeping a high grade and going to school in order to not have to take the exam. So some people do care about the exemption policy, but yeah, I think as a student wise, I don't think people would want to
Oh, I'm
get rid
sure
of the
the kids
exemption
don't want to take the
policy.
final.
My only concern, though, is that if there is no incentive now to actually go to school, how would that affect people?
Well, the incentive now with his attendance schedule for everyone is if you don't attend 85%, you're not going to the prom.
Okay.
There you go.
I just didn't know how you would balance out that
Yeah.
incentive part of it.
And I do think that's important that we're going to have to get that out to the public because that's big and that's a big shift by saying your kid's not going to get to come do the fun things if they don't come do the work. But we're going to let Mr. Edwards take all of those calls.
Absolutely.
But we will be supporting you. But I think it's great. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. And Amelia, I didn't like taking me there as a student, so I understand. So, thank y'all.
All right, at this time, Dr. Lutz is going to share some information about revision to policy 3620, extracurricular activities and student organizations. So Dr. Lutz?
Okay. At the June 30th meeting, the board asked to schedule this meeting on July 17th to discuss policy 3620. Policy 3620 gives 3 separate options to homeschool students regarding participation. Option 1 is all homeschool students may participate. Option 2, dually enrolled homeschool students may participate. And option 3, homeschool students may not participate. And based upon the conversation, we also put together some administrative guidelines should the board choose to move forward with allowing homeschool students to participate. And the guidelines would be for grades 9 through 12. Classes would be assigned on a space available basis. A school is not obligated to add classes to accommodate part-time enrollment of homeschool students. The student is subject to all fees for the courses in which the student is enrolled. Homeschool students duly enrolled in Currituck County schools must participate in all required district, state, and federal testing. The student is expected to adhere to the Currituck County Schools Code of Conduct and rules applicable to full-time enrolled students. Part-time enrolled students will be subject to consequences for violation of school or district rules to the same extent as full-time enrolled. And athletes are required to travel with their team on the team bus for away games and other events. Under option 1 is very limited, but the board had looked at dually enrolled homeschool students, and the language in option 2 does speak to 365 days and 1 class being taken on campus each semester in person, specifically. So with that, I will turn this over to the board for discussion.
Anybody want to start this, or Emily, do you want to start? I know Sandy had some questions. You want to start?
So I'm going to start in a weird place. I'm going to start with my closing remarks. And then it's going to come back around because one of the things I want people to know is decisions. I didn't know, I had a little bit in my mind of what I thought I wanted to do. I love community engagement. It's essential, and I appreciate the conversation. But I just want to be clear about something. Decisions are not made before a board meeting. And tonight's going to prove that for me because I came in, again, thinking one thing. I listened to people online. I listened to public comment here, and I've shifted some. I'm a NAP mom. My kid went to NAP, and she gave up the opportunity to do tennis at the high school, and she gave up the opportunity to be in the marching band. So she had to give up 2 things that she loved in order to attend a school that she really wanted to attend because of the class size. And just the culture there, she loved it. So I do believe that we should include all students in this process. I do believe that we should include homeschool students. I do believe that we should include NAP students. What I feel like we should do, or what I feel like I want to do, is do the homeschool students and create some sort of committee. I know there was one in the past to include Byron, to include Coach D, and maybe even students. Figure out logistically how this would work. Being that I know in Camden and Dare, I believe too, the early college is located in the high school. So the logistics of that, no, is Dare's not.
Dare's currently building a building now. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but
I think I read that actually.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they haven't worked out their kinks.
Their
for this
kinks,
yet.
but they do include the homeschool students, and I don't know if they're going to include their early college with the sports. Okay, so I feel like that does need more discussion. I personally do believe that I've said it since my child went to NAP, that she should have been able to not have to make that choice. I don't believe homeschool students should also have to make that choice because they are choosing to educate at home. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I want people to understand and know that we listen, we consider, and we do strive to make thoughtful decisions that reflect what's best for our school system and for our students, period. So I just wanted that to be clear.
Emily?
I would like to thank everyone that came out and spoke this evening. I kind of mirror what Sandy is saying. I definitely think that NAP students should be included in sports. I want to thank the Davenports for what you said. I did not realize, well, I take that back. I did understand that in 29 was when the conference would change, but with what you said and speaking with who you spoke with, that gives me a little more comfort. I know we're about 150 students short of making that conference change, but we're basically here with that. So I know Ms. Parker always speaks of ripping the Band-Aid. So I think this would be a perfect opportunity to do that. Mrs. Davenport, what you said about the bus already going over to the high school, I did not realize that. So as you said, that would be a help in this situation. So again, I appreciate all your thoughts. I definitely am a proponent for the homeschoolers joining in the sports, and I think if homeschoolers are doing it, I think JP Knapp should have the opportunity to do it as well. So that's kind of where I am on that. Thank you.
I want to start by reading part of this is for the homeschool students. So this is to address some of the parent concerns. For option 2, which is one that I personally am considering, duly enrolled homeschool students. Once duly enrolled and deemed eligible to participate in athletics, the student must maintain continuous dual enrollment. Failure to maintain continuous dual enrollment would render the student ineligible for athletic participation for 365 days. So this does kind of stop that idea, because it was a concern for me too, of do you try out or do you enroll, try out, knock it on, unenroll, then that messes everything up. You can't do that. So I hope that that brings a little bit more comfort. Me reading back through it made me feel better about it. So I do support the option 2 for 2 classes. I think there is more to athletics than just coming to the games. I do believe that it is part of school spirit. You need to be part of that community at least a little bit to participate to your best ability in athletics. I am not an athletics person. I did theater my whole time, but even that, the same thing, that you create bonds and friendships that you need at least a little time with your peers to develop that. I think otherwise it may be a little bit more difficult for the students. Like, I truly am thinking of what would be best for the students, and I think being at school at least some is what is best for students. When it comes to NAP, I would like us to propose tonight a committee that will present on or before our December 2025 meeting, ideally before, that the committee would review budget impacts, coordinate with the NCHSAA to review a little bit more officially the potential conference changes during realignment, to confirm transportation, to look at the playoff schedules and exams and how doing that between two schools who have two different schedules, would that create any issues? Because again, we don't want our students at NAP to have issues with their COA classes, with their COA exams due to playoffs. Because again, not a sports person. Academics to me come first. Sports are great, but like, I'm all about academics and discipline between the schools. So I would like to propose a committee that looks at all of those things and presents to us very soon before the end of the year so that we can make a decision on this.
I think that I was just thinking that the same thing. We need that committee. And I would like that committee to include both NAP representation and our athletic director from the high school. He's going to have, this affects him greatly. We understand that. And he needs time to kind of figure this out logistically. But I would also like, Coach D, is that appropriate to call you that from this seat? That's all I know you by. Coach D, but I would also like student representation and on that committee. And a homeschool. Hey, Dennis. He has, I mean, I'm thinking somebody like Dennis who has had students in all three of the areas that we're discussing tonight, so.
All right, Mr. Banks.
I have a quick question on the committee. So is that for homeschool and for JP Knapp?
No, for me, this would just be JP Knapp because I feel like the homeschool has a little bit fewer issues. So I would be comfortable voting for option 2 tonight for
Got it.
homeschool.
Okay.
And then voting on Knapp as a separate issue and having the committee specifically looking at Knapp.
I would like to ask our athletic director, Byron, what are your thoughts? Please. I think we've got to hear from the man that this is going to affect the most. And regarding the homeschool, do you think if we voted on the homeschool issue tonight, would you be able to implement, or should we have a committee on both? I think that's where we're.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we have to make sure that we do is, one, for me, as far as reviewing eligibility, it does take time. And even with the homeschool, there was things in the past where you had to be homeschooled for at least a whole year before you can even be eligible for sports. So we have to make sure that there are policies in place that keep that same thing, because that will have kids that say, hey, I didn't make the team, I'm going to drop out and then try to come back again in the spring. That's not fair to nobody, and that's almost just wrecking the system. As far as for JP Knapp, same exact thing. I would like to form a committee so where we could sit down and talk about the logistics, the transportation, discipline issues, and also, I also, like you said, a committee, I like to have a student. Like, Amelia would be great. She's a two-sport athlete, stellar person. But we need to try to explore everything so it's all on the front, and then we can make the best decision for everybody. As far as the conference realignment, nobody can say that they don't know what's going to happen in 2029, because we just watched Martin County go through the same thing and try to appeal to stay where they were to limit their transportation, and they lost both appeals. So it's inevitable. If we go up to 6A, they cannot say we're going to stay in this current conference. They can't say it right now because they just did it to another school 2 hours away. So there are still things that we got to explore before we go forward with that.
And if we implement a December due date, we could vote on it in December, and would they be eligible for the spring sports?
Spring sports start in February, so technically that would be second semester, that would help out. And then that also gives me time to try to coordinate with JPNEP, coordinate with everybody to where we can try to go through their attendance stuff, and then that puts us to where we can line up game schedules with exam schedules. Like, you made a great point about that.
I want you to be honest, because it's your workload, and I appreciate that Ms. Ayers said that. Our schedule's already done. Would it be better for us to implement this in the fall, or for us to implement it mid-year? You're the one that's going to be working overtime.
As far as our winter schedule's already done. And pretty much spring schedule is pretty much done already too, as far as scheduling games. So I think that this would be something that we should probably table until the next school year. That's just me personally.
Right, I don't want to table all the discussions and the proposal, but I want to implement something.
Implementing it as far as
You want to implement in 2025, 26?
Right, if we go that route.
26, 27. I think, to me, that seems like a fair,
Let me let Mr. Banks and Amelia. Mr. Banks?
Just have some concerns, and the coaches or the athletic director, y'all just jump in and say I'm way off base on this. In regards to the eligibility to play sports, right now athletes have to pass 70% of their class. They have to have 85% attendance. Is that correct? That is what we are going to tell our students, that they have to pass 70% of their classes. With homeschoolers coming in, how do we know? Where's the gauge there? What they're passing? Are we now going to tell they won't be eligible to play? But now we're going to tell our high school students, they're homeschooled, they only have to take one core class and they can play. But you have to take all your classes and you have to pass all 70% of your classes to be eligible to play. Is that fair to those students? Is that going to discourage them from playing? We got questions about that. And then again, it's come up again. If my child decides to enroll in school because they were homeschooled to take 2 core classes, they get cut, get hurt, can't play. What's going to stop them from just saying, I'm not coming no more? Nothing. They're just going to go back homeschooling again.
the policy will say.
Well, yeah, but they have enrolled. They're playing football. They get hurt. They can't play no more. Do you think they're going to come to school the next day?
Well, then they're not eligible to do it again for 3 months.
Well, if they're a junior or a senior, that's not going to matter. I just see that way, and I also look at sports a little bit different than a lot of people maybe on this board. I don't know. So I may get tackled in the parking lot, but right now, Currituck County Schools does not have to have an athletic program. We don't have to have one, period. We choose to have one. We get no state funding for it. We get no federal funding for it. It comes from local dollars and fundraising from, like Ms. Parker does with boosters. That's where a lot of the money comes from athletics. A lot of the assistant, the director over there is shaking his head, because he's always constantly begging for money. So, I mean, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at coaches have a big influence on their kids' education. They have a huge impact. It did for me, because if I didn't do my homework or didn't do what I was supposed to do, my coach made it hard. He really did. He made it hard until I brung up my grades, and I kept my grades there. That's why I like sports, and that's why I like athletics in high school, because the coaches have a huge impact on the students and what they can do. And I just think if we start letting people come in with no accountability, is that going to discourage other students? And the other students will be like, they don't have to do anything. Why do I have to do anything? Not saying that homeschoolers are not being educated. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to do that, that's 100% fine. But there's a lot of questions that I have before the homeschoolers come in, or even the early college come in. I'd rather have a conversation about the early college students coming in to play athletics before I do the homeschool students coming in to play athletics. But then, just like you said earlier, when my daughter and my son both went to early college. But when they go to the early college, they're taking college classes. Is a college professor or college teacher going to say, "Well, yeah, you got a away football game in Chowan County. We'll let you slide this class, and you don't have to participate today"? That's not going to happen. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that. I just don't say. I got questions about that how that would work. But if we do let the kids come in for the two core classes, I'd like to see exactly what that looks like, and the accountability that comes with that. And if we don't let them take any core classes, I'm not saying they're dishonest, but where's the accountability? I just don't see there's any accountability for it. So that's where I'm kind of at right now. So, but I'm all for the committee for the early college. I really am. My son was disappointed because he elected to go there. I think it's something we need to look at. I believe some other early colleges are doing that, correct? Mm-hmm. All around us. I mean, I think we need to give them. There are students. We're responsible for them. So I think they need to take more precedence before anybody else.
Amelia, I'd love your input. Amelia is a perfect example of a student athlete. She is ranked #1 in her class, while also being an exceptional athlete that's also gotten a Division I softball scholarship.
When it comes to the dual enrollment classes, so since they'll be having to take classes at the high school, I'm concerned about how that will affect already our strain when it comes to teachers and having enough teachers for classes. And we just got 3 new counselors at the high school, so they're already getting acclimated for their students. How will that affect kind of that part of it? Because it's already hard enough to get into classes as a student when there's not enough classes and so many people trying to get like electives. Like our art classes were packed this year. So adding more kids into that, it's already hard enough to get into certain classes that you need. And then when it comes to counselors, I know plenty of people right now who this past year, it was hard enough to get in contact with your counselors about classes. So I'm just curious about how that will affect it with more kids being put in there. Sorry, I had another.
Keep going.
And then if they're in the system, how will that affect things like school-related scholarships, class rankings, GPAs, stuff like that? For benefits that are allowed only to high school students, will they now be put into that group of people who? And the scholarships is kind of the biggest one because a lot of people work for those, and I don't want what's it called? I don't want that to be taken away from actual high school students in the system. Hold on. And for like underclassmen, like if you're a sophomore, a freshman, even some juniors, you need to attend every single class. You need to be there at least like half a day most of the time, with an excused absence to even practice that day. But if you only need 2 classes for only one needs to be in person, 1 core class or whatever, how my concern is tracking that eligibility wise. Like I've had teammates who haven't been able to play, haven't been able to practice just because of attendance for that specific day, not even the whole year. That was another concern of mine, but yeah.
Mr. Powell appreciates you. All of the things he was concerned about. Do you want to say something? Go real quick.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'm curious as to what Mr. Edwards and Mr. Lowe think about this.
Not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot. It's always nice when that's the first thing they say.
And while they're walking up here, Amelia's response and questions are the exact reason we need a student on this committee.
So I guess I'll go first. It's certainly a lot to think about and process. My initial concern is I don't know that we've had enough time to think of all the logistical implications that all this means. while we were discussing that, I was thinking from a scheduling standpoint, and let me just be clear. I think my team, and I'm sure you feel the same way about your team, we can make anything happen. We can make anything as possible. But sitting there thinking about, we've worked tremendously hard to build and create a student-driven schedule that's pretty full right now, as Amelia said. We've done a good job keeping those numbers below 30. What will the numbers look like for if homeschool is, if we plan on going forward with that? How many homeschoolers will be there? And I'm assuming most of them will want to take classes third or fourth period, because then they don't have so much time in between class and practice. So I think what strain would that have on our schedule would be my first thought and consideration. I don't know. I guess philosophically, if you don't mind me going there, I think the great thing about Currituck County Schools is we have two fantastic options for high school. I think either way is a tremendous option, but I do believe if you decide to go to JP Knapp or you decide to go homeschool, you're making that decision knowing that you're not going to play sports at the traditional high school. I don't think that's maybe as an impactful of a decision as it was maybe 10 years ago, because I know, having been an athletic director, there are multiple high school leagues. Travel ball is huge, right? So there, rec league, I mean, there are opportunities for competitive individual sports and competitive team sports outside of the traditional high school model. So I feel very strongly that if you choose a homeschool path, and I'm all for parents' right to choose. I think they should have that opportunity. But if you choose a homeschool, if you choose a JP Knapp early college, I think you do so knowing that you're not going to be able to play sports at the high school. That's my personal opinion. Now, I'll tell everybody this: whether you allow one or both, we'll certainly welcome them with open arms, and we'll treat them like any other student and be as supportive and to their needs and help them any way we possibly can. I'm sure you feel the same way. So that's my 2 cents.
I echo what Mr. Edwards said. I think if we're sticking to the script in terms of whether it's homeschool students or not, that was the original item on the agenda, was are homeschool students will they be allowed to participate in high school athletics? And if they are, then I think fair is fair. I think it'd only be right for JP Knapp students to be able to do that. But as far as it's exactly what Mr. Edwards said, you sign up knowing you're going to homeschool your students. You do have, and I'm a big sports proponent. Let me say that. I'm a sports fan, coach. I've been an assistant AD. Does a lot for you. When you choose homeschool, to me, it's okay. I still have that rec option. I have travel ball, AAU travel ball. I still have those options, but you're choosing homeschool knowing that you're not going to be able to play high school sports. If you do decide to allow homeschool students to play sports, I firmly believe JP Knapp students should be able to play as well. And no matter what you choose, just like Mr. Edwards said, we'll make it happen. And we do have two great options here in the county, and I hope that continues.
Thank you. I think they're going to let me talk, maybe. Obviously, I think the community knows this is like my life. This is what my family does 24 hours a day. My husband is a athletic director, and he was the athletic director at Currituck High School. So I knew this had been on the table, and Dennis and other parents had contacted us concerning the homeschool policy. Like Ms. Harris, I would need students to be dual enrolled in order to support that, because I believe when you become dual enrolled, you become a Currituck County High School student. So for me, that's the difference. They become a student on the campus of Currituck County High School. I cannot emphasize enough what this could add to Mr. Powell's life, who already works 14 to 16 hours a day. That is a Friday night is a typical 16-hour day. He has to check eligibility. He has to check attendance. They have to be 85%. If they're there 2 bells, then that's how we're checking that. I'm less concerned about that, and I've been honest about this because I think we opened the door with dual enrollment. I think we opened that Pandora's box because we have students who already are dual enrolled at the high school that only come in for 2 bells a day and then they leave. We already do that with our own students. And we opened that box, and we opened it with North Carolina. I could go on a political public education rampage because it's cheaper to put kids on a computer than hire a public educator. I said this candidly. My daughter wanted to come speak. I asked her not to. It's very nice, Alyssa. Your mother's nice. I told my daughter no. She was a 4-sport athlete at Currituck County High School, and she earned her associate's degree from Currituck County High School, and she came to Currituck County High School about 3 hours a week. The rest of the work she did was online. So that's why personally, when homeschool parents talked to me, it felt odd to me because my kid was doing that. My kid was doing that as a dual enrolled Currituck County High School student. I actually love JP Knapp. I love what you do. I wish we could duplicate the services that you provide. When people talk about JP Knapp's such a special place, my argument is always every school should feel like JP Knapp. That's what we should strive for every school to feel like. But I do think there's major logistical concerns that if you are not someone who is involved in athletics on a daily basis, that you could not understand what this could give Mr. Powell. We talked about there's a bus that goes for practices. There's not a bus for the volleyball team that leaves at 12. There's not a bus the next day for the swim team that leaves at 1. There's not a bus when we play Martin County. And I appreciate Mr. Powell speaking to that. I love Alfie Wheeler. I thought he was a great athletic director at Manteo High School, and I have a call into him. I believe his comments were inappropriate to say that they knew that we weren't going to move. Martin County School Board begged them to not move their conference. It's going to cost them over $50,000 more in transportation. Their kids are now traveling 2 hours to First Flight for a game, 2 hours back, 2 hours to Currituck County, 2 hours back, 2 hours to Hertford County. They begged to not be in our conference, and the state didn't care. So the concept that the state's not going to do what the state wants to do, the state's going to do what they want to do. And then there was this idea floated that our conference wouldn't want us to leave. Y'all can ask Mr. Powell that at the end of the thing. Our conference would gladly ask us to leave. We're the biggest school, and they hate playing us. They hate playing us. Pasquotank hates that we're in the conference. Northeastern hates we're in the conference. If the state was doing what was best, why aren't we playing Camden County anymore? Again, I go on a dissertation. I just think there's a lot to the JP Knapp piece. We had a coach reach out. She said, I coach, I have to leave at 1:30. Am I now expected for the bus to go down to Knapp to pick up kids? Am I expected to go pick up at COA? What if those professors say the kids can't get out? Most of our high school students that are dual enrolled do it virtually because of that. They know that. They don't want to deal with the issue of the college professors. We have no authority over COA professors to say that a kid can leave school or not leave school for a particular class. So I think there's a lot of issues. No offense to Mr. Lowe. If his kids are participating, he's probably going to have to take a duty at one of the games. We just increased his work hours. We can't say, hey, Mr. Edwards, we're going to add the potential of 100 kids, and these Knapp kids are going to come over, and then Mr. Lowe still gets to be the Knapp principal but never has to supervise a game. Counselors, there's NCAA eligibility. There's NCAA clearinghouse. We then have to train the Knapp staff on that. Again, I agree we can do anything we want to do. I don't know that we have the money to do everything we want to do. I do know that Camden County allows it. Their campus is on. Camden County also allows it because they know they wouldn't have enough athletes if they didn't. Bertie allows it across the street because if they didn't, they wouldn't have enough athletes to do it. We were all honest about what really happened when the early college was established. Currituck didn't want to be a bigger division. And they made a decision at that point, and I appreciate the Davenports because their experience with the early college. The focus of early college is supposed to be first generation, low income, minority students having an access to rigorous education. To me, all of this brings up the broader conversation of why our early college doesn't look like what the state says it's supposed to look like. Because that is who it's supposed to be geared towards. And so when it's geared towards that student that's low income, first gen, minority, they would tend to not be able to balance sports with the curriculum because you're supposed to wrap them. But that's not what we're doing. That's not what we've portrayed to the public. We've portrayed it as, I have parents all the time that said, my kid goes to the STEM school. I said, we don't have STEM school. My kid goes to NAP because it's more rigorous. It's not. It's more personalized, absolutely. I also have a problem that then are we going to open the doors and the Currituck County High School students are going to get all the opportunities that the NAP students do? Are we going to let them go participate in the clubs and activities that we don't have at the high school? Because that's a whole nother conversation. We don't have all the things that NAP has. So I love that several people have asked for a committee to a deep dive. I think there's some really big deep dive. I think we're lucky. I hate poor Martin County, but we're lucky to look at Martin County because they have been vocal about, right now they're saying upwards of 50 grand it's going to cost them. In addition to, you're talking about kids who are going to leave class every day at 2 o'clock and get home at midnight. That's the reality of what a high school athlete does. When you're in northeastern North Carolina, I know Mr. Powell had plenty of JV football parents upset last year because they were like, why are we playing these schools? Because it means your kid gets out at 1 o'clock every day. So that's a logistical issue when we talked about scheduling, that I don't know that we're ready to do that with the early college students. And I don't know that their parents are going to be real happy. And so I think we got a lot. I can't make a motion, but if somebody would like to make a motion, I think we got a lot to talk about. And I think it's a big issue, and that's why I love public comment, and I love when people come to the table. When people discuss, better policy happens. That's why we want to discuss.
I'll make the motion to create a committee to discuss and bring a detailed, comprehensive proposal to us at our December meeting to consist of JPNAP and Currituck High School and homeschool and a student or students to bring us that proposal in December to implement in 26-27.
Make sure I'm understanding this. This committee would be to examine homeschool and JPNAP?
That's my motion, yes.
That's your motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so at this time, the policy 3620 for extracurricular activities and student activities will stay the same. Option 3, pending a committee that Mr. Powell has just won the lotto on, that gets to discuss the impact of JPNAP, one area, homeschool, another area, and then present to the board for implementation and a vote for 26-27 school year. That was great. All right, moving on. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Informational items. Despite the outcry from the public, the board will still meet on the night of the Scotty McCurry concert. Life will go on, and you can go hang out with Scotty or you can hang out with us, but it will go on. August 21st, we're going to have a 4 o'clock work session, 6:30 here for the board meeting. If you already got tickets, you could probably scalp them and make a little money to supplement your teacher's salary. Karen's up for bid, so there you go. Now, board member and superintendent comments. Ms. Currituck?
Thank you. I just want to say a couple of things. I know that there's a narrative that board members come into a meeting already knowing how they are going to vote. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, but that's not how I operate. I take every decision extremely seriously and try to look at all angles and perspectives. I'd like to thank the citizens who call, email, and come out and speak at public comment. It's not easy to reach out. It's not easy to come to these meetings and give comment. I understand that, and I really do appreciate those of you that do. We are a 5-member board. 5 people who are representing almost 32,000 people. So I, for one, want to hear what the people that I'm representing want. So thank you again for coming to speak, calling, emailing, and I hope that continues. Hope you'll continue to answer the surveys. I think you'll probably start to see more surveys. So thank you for that. And excuse me, I'd also like to thank the administration and the staff who comes to present. Over these last 7 months, I have learned a wealth of information. It's no secret, I don't have an education background, but what you have done for, I think, the board in educating us speaks volumes. So I hope that when the boards continue to turn over, that you will continue to educate the board members, because I feel when y'all have given me the tools of knowledge and the citizens come and express their opinions, it gives me, I have a better chance of making better decisions to help the students of Currituck County, and that's be all and end all what we're here for. So thank you.
Sandy?
I'm going to echo what Emily said. Like I said earlier, I came into this meeting with one thought in my head, and I want to thank everybody who spoke today, everybody who emailed us, because they do give us pause. It educates us. I too do not have an education background, so I rely on the people around me. I rely on the community engagement to help us make those decisions. We're here representing you. So I appreciate Alyssa. Thank you. It's not easy. Adults don't want to come up here. They don't. And you did it, and you did it with poise, and you were amazing. So I'm proud of you. You're welcome. I also want to thank the Currituck Education Foundation and Ms. Harrison for leading or sponsoring, hosting, managing, all of it. The new teacher supply closet, my business, is a drop-off location, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday at my Fusion office in Barco. So let's fill up that closet. Bring everything you got. I will hold it in my lobby.
Melissa?
Speaking to that, so I'm going to put on my Currituck Education Foundation hat. As the vice chair, I have started an initiative that will start a teacher supply store. And when I say store, it actually means free. So teachers will be able to come to this store. It's going to be located in one of the trailers at Currituck County Middle School. They will have a certain number of items they'll be able to pick each month for free to help supplement. A study was done in 2023, so let's think about inflation in 2 years. And teachers on average spent between $500 and $750 of their own money. And that's an average including states that actually give decent supplements. That's not looking at North Carolina, who does not do that. That's including all the data. I know myself, I'm pretty sure my husband doesn't watch this meeting. My first year teaching, I think I spent $2,000 or more just trying to supplement because it wasn't there. I didn't have it, and I wanted to give my students the best opportunities that I could, and so I bought it with my own money. I now have weird random things at our house that are still in the closet and will be there for a while.
You can put them in the new closet.
Well, I'm going to use some of them to decorate it. Like I have a silhouette machine, still have tons of vinyl, chalkboard mark, you name it, I got it. And so this is really important to me because I've been in those shoes and I know what it's like. So we are taking donations. We also take monetary donations. Those are great. We've got some discounts we can use at stores. If you give us money, we'll go buy stuff at an even better price. If you go to currituckeducationfoundation.org/donors, it's right there through PayPal. You can give us whatever lovely amount you want, and we'll try to give you a shout out on Facebook for it. And now I'm going to go back to my board member. I love hearing from people. I am not a huge social media person. I look at it. I do see what you're saying. I don't like communicating on it because I feel like I don't come across well in that. It's like a personal thing. I just don't, and I worry sometimes that communication doesn't work as effectively, that people don't process what each other is saying as well through social media as through conversations. So please call me. My number is available on the Board of Education website. If I don't, I have a 904 number from when we lived in Florida, so I don't always answer calls because I'm like, who's this weird number? I also have a toddler, and so if there's screaming happening, I will call you back when I have a babysitter, either my mom or my husband. But I will always call you back, and I really do prefer that because I can talk to you and have an actual conversation. I feel like that just is what gives the best communication. So please call me. I'm available. I love hearing from you.
All right, Mr. Banks.
Yeah, I want to echo is almost exactly what she just said about social media. If you try to reach me on social media, good luck, and it's not going to happen. Pick up the phone and call me. And come to my house. We'll be fine. So I do have a social media account, but I'm not on it. I just don't like it. Anyway, that's my personal opinion. But what I do love and what I do like about our staff here at Currituck County Schools is how they always reach out to the public for their input. It's constant. It seems like all the time we're getting surveys from the public constantly, and that does make an impact. It really does make an impact. So I thank you for leading that, Dr. Lutz, on that. And for the homeschool dad here, what I would like to hear, if you could, I'm assuming you said you would be on the committee, is actually how many students do you think that would be? I don't know if you got any contacts with anybody else. Well, I would like to see some numbers. There's just a lot of stuff that's out there to make a decision like that we need to know. Ms. Parker nailed some of them to the wall. It's logistically, I was sitting here trying to wrap my head around it, and I just don't know. The staff at the high school is probably going to go home and beat their head up against the wall. So then our fairly new athletic director, I'm sorry, I apologize, but I do love the input. But if we're going to open up to the homeschool, JP Naps has got to be up there with it. And I do know that there are two different entities. And there's a lot to absorb. So I'm glad we're doing a committee, and we're going to look at this. We're not going to rush into it. So, thank you.
Dr. Lutz?
Well, I didn't know how this meeting was going to go tonight.
You never know with us.
I don't. And kind of reiterate, but I'd like to thank you for pausing and doing a committee, and let's do this. If we're going to do things, let's do them well. Not just done, but done well. Amelia, thank you for your comments tonight. It was great to hear from a student board member. Just a couple things to touch on. We're going to loop back to cell phone policy, state passed cell phone law that doesn't have to be implemented until January 1st, but we want to make sure that our high schools are Mr. Edwards loves cell phones. So he does not like cell phones in schools, and he is very happy that this law. So I'm going to bring some policy to the board so we can at least get some guidelines before the state gets their official policy in place. So again, I want to thank the board for a great discussion tonight. Thank the public for coming out. And I look forward to moving forward in a thoughtful, process-driven way. And thank you for your kind comments. Have a great end of the summer. We'll see everybody in August.
All right, just echoing what everybody said about thanking the public for coming out. We like to hear, and again, half the people are going to be happy and half the people are not going to be happy, but we're going to make sure we listen to what it really requires. I would go ahead and challenge high school parents to go ahead and have a cell phone conversation. You might as well start the conversation now. We do know your child's not going to have their cell phone on in the classroom. We don't know the particulars. We don't know what the discipline consequences are, but they're not going to have it on their desk. So we might as well go ahead and have the conversation, let them know they're going to be okay. Could even practice weaning them off of it at a family dinner, whatever you need to do, but that is coming and they're going to be okay. Other school systems across the country have done this. Our teachers are going to be excited about this. They have echoed this. Also, a thank you to the high school administration for having the courage to come forward and say attendance matters. So thank you for taking the lead on that. Emily and I had the privilege of meeting with the Lieutenant Governor and at a COA function. And Selena Jarvis, a retired educator and county commissioner, was there, and I asked her if I could share this, and she just shared from a teacher perspective that parents might not understand the impact of attendance. And she said, I have 5 kids that are absent on Monday. I'm trying to get their makeup work. They want to stay after Tuesday to make up their work. Now on Tuesday, I have 6 kids absent. They want to stay after on Wednesday and make up their work. She said, now it's every day of my week that I'm staying after for free, putting in my time because your child's choosing not to come to school. So it was a really great perspective, and I was glad she let me share that because I know it's difficult. No one's saying that you're not going to be able to say, hey, there's a family emergency. We're not saying that. But there's state law that says your child has to be in school. And we have the right to prosecute you if you don't send your child to school. So we are trying to protect children, is what really the law is about, trying to protect children, because there was a time when parents would have said, go to work and don't go to school. So thank you to the high school for doing that. Thank you to Ms. Harrison. I had this vision of the teacher store. A lot of times this board is super patient with me that I have a lot of visions and I delegate my vision. And she took it and rolled with it. We were able to look at another teacher store. We were able to look at what that did. And we're just so excited to be able to offer something for our teachers. Just a way to thank those that are staying. We lost a couple more really good educators today to across the border. And so we're going to continue to have the conversation of what we want to do, which I think is part of this broader conversation with athletics and homeschool and adding more people. The high school has some major gaps in teachers. We need English, we need math, we need social studies, we need science. So it's really hard for us when the public's like, raise the scores, do better. Well, we want to, but we also need a professional educator in the room. So again, I'm just going to continue to tell people that you're going to have to contact your state representatives and discuss why we're so excited that we're #1 in business, but we're number 43 in teacher pay. Because it doesn't make any sense to me. And we did ask the Lieutenant Governor about that. And we actually had a really good conversation and asked her about the difference in salary. Emily and I almost fell out, and she was like, is it like $3,000 difference? I said, no, ma'am, it's 30. It's 30,000. So I do go to social media, and I know it's dangerous. And I know Dr. Lutz holds his breath every time I do. But I am going to put her email on there so that people can contact the Lieutenant Governor and let her know what we're dealing with in Currituck County, which is a teacher shortage that's going to directly impact the quality of education that we can give our children. So again, I thank everybody for coming. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All right, meeting adjourned.